Hello everyone. It's time for our first Pilates class. This is like take 4 or 5 for me. And so I hope it goes well. My hope is to give you some mat practices that you can do at home to feel strong and integrated in your body. Keep yourselves feeling fit and conscious on body awareness, integration, and balance. So let's get started. Okay, so I have my mat, and if you want to join me and you have some props at home, you could have a yoga block with you. You could have your red TheraBand. You could have a blue TheraBand, and you could have your hand weights, and you could have a ball. Now, you don't need any of those things. I'm going to give you practices where you can use these or not. I know some of you put a ball or a small block under your sacrum because it's more comfortable in your mat practice, and that is fine to do. And then when we do the arm work, you can use weights or not use weights. It's not necessary. All right, so let's begin laying on our backs in constructive rest pose. And just let your shoulders relax, your sacrum, your belly relax. Let yourself rest back on the mat. Take a few deep and fluid breaths. And then exhale and almost lift your right foot off the floor. Just far enough that a piece of paper could slide underneath your sole. And then release. And almost lift your left foot off the floor so that a piece of paper could almost slide under your foot. And release. Now really rest yourselves back and take some deep breaths into the lowest ring of your ribs. Breathe in and expand the circumference of your rib cage. Can the breath flow up and down the spine? And on the exhales, can you relax? Belly, chest, neck, jaw, scalp. Can you let your eyes fall back in their sockets? Can you let the heads of your arm bones grow heavy? And then can you just very gently ground your shoulders as again you almost lift, this time the left foot off the floor, and release. And almost lift right and release. Let's exhale and lift the left into tabletop and then float the foot back down to land light as a feather on the floor. And then almost lift right and float the shin up to tabletop and float the foot back down to land light as a feather. You're really getting into these subtle core muscles by moving slowly and lightly. Now this time let's almost lift right and float it up and float it down. And almost lift left and float it up and float it down. Let's take a few deep breaths into the whole circumference of your ribcage. Exhaling, relaxing onto the floor, letting the anxiety drain from your body. Fluid breath. Inviting the inhale to fill you, but not demanding or grasping for it. With each exhale, can you relax more deeply? And with a state of relaxation in the upper body, arms, hands, face, can we nod the head yes? And then almost lift the head from the hairline. So you drop your neck crease back in, your hyoid bone back in, and you lift from your hairline instead of your chin. This is what we don't want to do. And this is what we do want to do, lengthening out through the top of the head as we curl up. Now those of you with osteoporosis or penia, just nod the head yes and almost lift. That'll help you lengthen the front neck flexors, lengthen the back of the neck. So we want to do several of these. We nod and we almost lift. We don't even clear the head from the floor. It's just an almost lift activation. And then some of you will actually lift from the hairline if you're not struggling with osteoporosis or penia and look towards your inner thighs and roll back down. So it's an almost lift or it's a lift, and as you lift up through the top of the head. And then you roll back down. And then relax. Fluid breath. Knowing that the relaxation is just as important as the activation in this practice. We need to let ourselves learn when to turn the muscles off, especially in anxious times. So let yourself exhale and release into the hug of gravity. Take a deep inhale. And on your next exhale, almost lift your left foot off the floor and float it up to tabletop. And then activate your core and float the right up to join. And then toe dip, left toes towards the floor. And exhale up and inhale, right toes down and exhale up. We don't touch the floor. We just float the foot down and float the foot up, activating into the core. The knee stays at a right angle. And you can feel the core work. Can you keep the shoulders relaxed and grounding back? The hyoid bone relaxed and grounding in. And then we'll pause here and think, what's it going to take to keep your right leg really still, your pelvis still, as you open the left leg out like the pages of a book. And then exhale to center. And open right. And exhale to center. Back and forth. Fluid breath, remembering it's not how far you go, it's how still you can keep your sacrum. Fluid breath as you work. And always remember, when you've had enough, you can rest. Or you can hug the knees in and circle them wide of each other and back together. Just getting the synovial fluid in the hips moving. And we'll circle the other way. Fluid breath into the back body. And then let's hug the knees in. Those of you with knee issues can hold under the knee at the femur bone. And nod your head yes and lift from the hairline if you want to lift. If not, just almost lift a few times. And roll back down. Now let's lengthen the left leg out at about a 45-degree angle and hug the right leg in. And switch. Those of you who keep your head on the floor, keep a gentle nod of nose towards mouth. Those of you who lift, I want you to think of nose towards mouth, lift and lengthen through the top of your head so your spine stays long. Fluid breath, hug one leg in as you reach the other leg out. These are called single leg stretch in Pilates, and we want to move fluidly and gracefully. And then we hug both legs in, heels together. We reach hands and feet for the sky. Hands come down overhead, feet towards our point of control. We circle the arms and hug in. If you're leaving your head on the ground, you do the same work. You can work high, or you can take it longer, depending on your point of control with your core. So notice if you take it too low, you'll get into your lower back. So just take it as low as your body's comfortable moving with fluid grace. Fluid breath. We'll do one more. Inhaling out and exhaling in. And then we'll reach the right leg up overhead, left leg towards the other end of the room, and we'll hug, hug, and switch. Hug, hug, and switch. Hug, hug, and switch. Those who lift, hug, hug, and switch. Hug, hug, and switch. Hug, hug. Hug, hug, continue breathing, continue lengthening the spine wherever you are. And we'll hug it in, rest the head, take the legs up towards the sky, release the shoulders and palms, release the jaw, lengthen the back of the neck and lower the heels, point the toes and float the legs up. Try to keep the shoulders out of it. Work from the low ribs down as you exhale up and you inhale down. Fluid breath. Use the exhale to help you lift the legs. One more. And then hug the knees in. Let's lift the legs straight up and then bend and take one leg to the floor, one foot to the floor, and then the other gently. Heels in line with sit bones. Inhale, lift your pelvis. Pause here in your bridge pose for a moment. And then exhale, sacrum 3/4 of the way to the floor, and inhale, lift. Reach your tailbone towards the backs of your knees and then up towards the sky. So you're tilting your pelvis a little flatter, which will get you into your glutes so you don't overuse your hamstrings. Lower the pelvis and exhale, lift. Let this be movement, body following breath. So we inhale and exhale. So usually I have us inhale, lift, and exhale, the lower. We inhale like a kite being lifted skyward, and we exhale, the wind dies. We inhale and lift, and exhale. Fluid breath. A few more rounds. And on this next round, we'll pause high. You're strengthening the back of your core, lower back, gluteus muscles, and your hamstrings and the backs of the legs. And then exhale, roll down one vertebrae at a time. Releasing onto the mat in constructive rest and coming back to your breath. Okay, let's hug the right leg in towards our chest and lift it skyward. Let's lengthen the left leg out. So here we can do this work just with the leg lifted, or we can start with our TheraBand. So if you have a TheraBand or even like a bathrobe, a belt or something that may have a little bit of give to it, you can take your foot up and let your foot pendulum up and down for a moment, feeling the femur bone move in your hip sockets. And then when we come up, we release the femur towards the far end of the mat, and we hold the TheraBand in our right hand. So when we take the foot out to the right, we want to keep the left side body grounding down, and we exhale back to center. We'll do this a couple times just so we know that we can ground through our left low ribs and our left sacrum, our left inner thigh, left outer heel, and then we'll take the foot around in a circle across the body, out and up. So these circles can start really small, and then as we feel more confident, we can take the leg out. We'll see if I kick my chair. Fluid breath. But this, we're trying to stay pinned, so that was a little far. You might have seen me roll up a little bit. Okay, so I'm staying strong in my core here. And then I'm going to take it out to the side first, down, around, and up. Fluid breath, keeping grounded as the right leg goes out to the right. Really good work on keeping your hip mobility. And then come up and bend the knee in for a nice stretch. If you'd like to, lengthen the leg. And we'll switch. You can do all of this without the TheraBand, but for those of you who have one, this is a good place to start. Then you could pause the video and do this all again without the TheraBand. So for those of you without the TheraBand, we'll be here, and we'll take the left leg out to the left, keeping the right side body really grounding, and exhale to center. So my right ribs are reaching back for the floor, my right shoulder, my right pelvis, to help counterbalance the weight of my left leg. I also could use my left arm to help me create that balance. And then I'm going to take the foot across to the right, down, around, out, and up. Fluid breath. Now, if this hip wants to lift off when I'm reaching across the body, that's okay. But I don't want my right hip to lift off as I'm reaching the left leg out to the left. That's helping us build our core stability. One more circle, and then take the leg out to the left, down, around, and up. Fluid breath. And we'll do one more. Good, and then we'll hug this knee in, and we can take the leg long and stretch. Some of us may want to lift, so feel into your own body as we practice and do what feels good for you. Now let's take our feet wide on the mat, our arms up overhead and just let the knees come out to the left. You can stretch the right arm long and stretch through the right knee and take a few deep breaths. You may feel that you're stretching through the inside of your pelvis on the right side, down through the knee. That's part of your psoas pathway. Really important to stretch it out after the work we've been doing. And then take the knees to the right. Now your feet are wide on the mat because that's going to allow you more internal rotation of the left leg. Stretch and breathe. Let it feel good. And then come back up. Let yourself rest again in constructive rest. Let the shoulders rest back, the hyoid bone rest in, the jaw relax, the eyes. Fluid breath, three-dimensional breath. Relaxing on the exhales. Okay, and let's roll ourselves over to the side. And let's lay along the back edge of the mat. Okay, and let's put the hand under the head if that's comfortable. Or lengthen out. I meant to bring a blanket to show some of you putting a pillow here. So here I have a couch pillow I can use. I can put a pillow here if that's more comfortable. So any of those options are possible. And then we'll have our feet out at about a 30-degree angle or so. And we'll lift up and we'll kick forward and then lengthen back. Kick forward and lengthen back. We don't go way back behind ourselves and come into a big back bend here. We're trying to stay strong from the core. We're trying to move the leg independently in the hip socket. So we're not kicking as high as we can and shortening our side body. We're staying in control with the square, still long. So let's do a few more like that. Really good for hip mobility. One more. And then bring your feet stacked back up on top of each other. Now just float the foot and float it down. Fluid breath. Good work into your hips. I don't know if you remember, those of you who've been in my class a long time ago, we did popcorn. We'll work our way back up to popcorn. Last one. And then we'll do little circles. Fluid breath. And little circles the other way. Great thing about mat Pilates, we don't believe in 20 repetitions. Okay, and then I want you to point your toe. And if this doesn't feel good in your hip, feel free to do any of the previous exercises. Flexing your foot, we draw back down. So you drop the inseam of your bottom leg, you reach, flex, and point. So it's a draw, lift, flex, down, point, draw, and lift and flex. Now point the foot and lift, bend and draw out. So we lift, bend and draw, lift, bend and draw, lift, bend and draw, lift, bend and draw. Good. That's enough for that side for today. We'll roll ourselves over. Feel free to use your pillow. Lengthen your side body, your back body along the mat so that you have good awareness of where you are in space. Bring your leg slightly forward. Place your pillow if you want it. And then float the leg up. Ankle in line with hip. We kick forward and draw back. Inhaling and exhaling. That was a little too much of a kick for me. I felt my back move. So what I'm really trying to do is just move the leg bone in the hip socket. So for some people who have less mobility than I do, you may be right here. But you'll feel when you get too high, this hip kind of wants to hitch up and the side body wants to shorten. Try to keep it long. And last one, then bring foot over foot and float it up and float it down. Inhaling and exhaling. Inhale and exhale. One more. And then little circles. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Point your toe, draw up the inseam, lift, flex, and lower. Point, draw, lift, flex, and lower. Fluid breath, we'll do 5. Inhaling and exhaling. Now we lift up, point and draw out, lift, bend and draw, lift, bend and draw. Last one. Good. And then we'll bring ourselves up. Okay, let's just stretch out for a moment. Since we just did a lot of good core work, let's come down into a child's pose. Stretch the spine. Take a few fluid breaths. And remember, you can always put a blanket under your knees if you need that support. And then roll yourself up to tabletop and inhale your cow and exhale your cat. Fluid breath. Letting your spine undulate with the breath and really inviting a long fluid rhythm of the breath. You may take your sit bones farther back for more of a lower back lengthening. You may decide you want to stretch more into the right shoulder or the left. You may actually want to jump rope your spine a little bit. Do what feels good to your back as far as stretching. Part of Pilates is about spinal health and elongation, so we want to breathe space into the spine. You could even look over your left shoulder towards your left hip and stretch the side bodies. All part of decompressing the spine. And then, with our hands placed, fingers equidistant, let's roll up into a downward dog. And let's really find that stretch here. And then let's come back down and lengthen into our child's pose. Okay, so that's the first half of the class, and it's the part where we get to be on the floor. Now we're going to come to standing. On my earlier take on this class, I had the camera turned a different way, and when I turned it up, it made the picture turn so that it wouldn't have worked on your computers. I would have been sideways on your screen. So I'm learning slowly as we continue to do this work. Let's go ahead and put the TheraBand on if you have one. If you don't have one, it's fine. You can do this work without the TheraBand. Okay? So come into your Tadasana, heels underneath your sit bones, and breathe into the full circumference of your diaphragm. Really breathe out to the side ribs, into the low back, and exhale, relax into your mountain pose. Can you feel strong from outer hip down into the circumference of your heel? Feel your big toe ball mounds on the floor. And from this grounded place, can you gently lift the heart and inner collarbones? And then maintaining that, let's see if we can roll up onto the right toe and perhaps lift off. So you can stop anywhere along the way. It can be a roll, lift, or it can just be to the toe. We lift up and we lower down. We'll do 5 like this. There's 4. And there's 5. Hold. Some of you may be able to straighten, bend, and lower. Stand on both legs. Get accustomed to your right leg being strong. I'm not mirroring you. Roll up to your toe and roll down. Roll up to the left toe and roll down. Roll up, perhaps you lift off and lower. A lift. Can we keep the heart lifted? Keep the gaze lifted. Fluid breath. And perhaps lift and straighten, bend and lower. Okay, let's come out with our hands to the sides. If some of you want to, you can pick up your hand weights. Okay, you can put your hand weights on your shoulders. Take your right leg out to the right. And as you're ready, lengthen the arms up, reach into your hand weights and lift the right leg. Press into the TheraBand on both legs. Feel the connections, hands into the core of your body. Feel leg to leg at the TheraBand and feel your feet. And then release and step the other leg out. Reach your hands skyward, lift the left leg and pause. Feel into each limb and how they connect in through shoulders and hips to the torso. And release. We'll try one more time on each side. We reach skyward, and those of you without the TheraBand, it's actually a little harder to find balance. So you just work there, reaching, lifting, breathing, and then come down, and we'll try the other side. Reach, lift, and release. Good. Let's take the TheraBand off. That's enough for today. In another class, we'll do our TheraBand steps, but not today. I'm still getting used to the camera. Okay, so let's come into arm work, and let's bring our hands, thumbs together, and act like you're pulling up a heavy zipper, and then you're pushing down like a drill into the earth. So it's resistance. You create your own resistance. These hand weights aren't very heavy, so if you don't have hand weights, you create your own. We pull up and we push down. The hand weights are more there just to help us know where we are in space. And last one. And please don't use heavy hand weights. So 1 pound, 2 pound, those are good hand weights for what we're doing. Then we bicep curl out and we curl in. Fluid breath. Can you stay strong in your mertail of your legs? And let's do 2 more here. So I want the release to be just as slow as the come in, because that is your eccentric contraction, which helps build long, strong muscles. So we slowly take it out. We don't overextend at the elbow. We're just slowly taking it out. That's a lengthened, strengthened muscle. 1 more. Fluid breath and hold. See if you can lift through the heart center. Feel into how the arms connect into your torso, and see if you can lift to your toes. And then lower. And lift. And lower. And lift. And lower. Bend your elbows, bring your hands in and release. Bring your hands in front of your body so that your arms are a little in front of the inseam of your shirt. And inhale, thumbs come together. And exhales, pinkies come forward. That's going to stretch the muscles of your shoulder while the shoulder blade rotates on your back. Fluid breath. Really feel into your awareness of each shoulder moving. And if one is clunkier than the other, see if it can learn from the one that moves smoothly. Fluid breath. Last one. And exhale, release. Okay, we'll turn sideways, and we'll bend our knees, and we'll hinge at the hip to fold over. It's like you're reaching down for grocery bags, and you pull them up. And then we'll lengthen the arms back. So we're working the triceps here. We bend and we release. So we lift and we open. So I'm not throwing my hands way back and up because that'll throw the head of the arm bone into the rotator cuff in a way that isn't healthy. So we're gonna lift up and lift back. And it's gonna stay nice and long here. And the hyoid bone can come into the throat, spine long, and then bend and lower. We inhale and extend and exhale and lower. Last one, and hold. When you take it out, hold it there. Nice and long in the torso, shoulder blades, feel them on your back body, and then let's unhinge. Okay, that was nice work there today. Let me see, I'm gonna look on here how we're doing for time. Okay, that's coming close to the end. I'm just gonna do these in near 30-minute chunks so that they'll upload more easily. So we'll pause here. And we'll let that be our practice for today. Let's lift the heart. Let's come back to breathing into the full circumference of the ribs. And if it's comfortable for you, bring your heels together, toes a little open. And then we bend. And we lift onto the balls of our feet. And we straighten and we lower the heels. And we bend the knees. Lift the heels, straighten up and lower, and we bend. And lift and straighten and lower, bend and lift and straighten and lower. Now let's try it the other way. Inhale, lift the heart, lift the heels, bend the knees, lower the heels and zip. And it's lift, bend, lower and zip, and lift, bend, lower and zip. And then let's inhale in to our awareness in our bodies. Our consciousness becoming unconscious so we move fluidly. And let's inhale in to this wonderful, beautiful spring day that we've had outside, or that you may be having now, since you may be watching this at a different time. And let's inhale into our intentions for this lovely day. Okay. Thank you all for joining this class and for keeping on during these challenging times. I hope that you feel better in your body and that these videos help you. All right, talk to you later. Bye.